Good morning, everyone. I got a video here on extended fast refeed protocol. So what is an extended fast? For me, an extended fast is anything that's a full 2 days of no eating or longer. I eat one meal a day, so that's anywhere from 18 or 20 hours to even 26 hours a day. I typically am going 23, 24 hours a day without eating. That's not a fast. I'm still eating every day. Since the fall, I've been skipping a lot of Sundays of eating. I've been fasting with friends on Sundays, which works really well. That's going to be, if I eat late on Saturday and early on Monday, that's going to be a 38 to 42 hour fast. That I don't even consider extended fasting. That's just skipping 1 day of eating. I don't need to do any kind of special protocol or anything coming off that because it's not a real fast. If I go 2 full days or more of eating, now we're talking 58 to 60 hours, something like that. Now I got to be careful. I got to go slow. If I don't, I'll have some stomach distress. I might have the dreaded fountain coming out of my backside. This time, I went 3 full days with no eating. I woke up this morning at 83 hours fasted. Yeah, it's been 5 hours since I woke up. So I'm at 88 hours and I'm about to eat. I'm going to take a bite because I'm so ready. So I wanted to show you guys what I got here. People are very curious about my food to begin with and how I refeed after a fast. So hopefully you can see this. I have beef fat trim. This is from, let's see if that shows. This is from prime rib. This is prime rib beef fat. And yes, it's all raw. I've also got beef suet. So this came off of prime rib. This is from muscle fat. This is suet. This is internal fat that would be around the kidneys and the organs inside the cow. It's different texture. It's waxy. It kind of crumbles. The beef fat, you can actually cook this and you can get it real crispy. If you try to cook suet, it's going to render into tallow and it's very waxy. And I've got some boneless leg of lamb. One of my favorites. I'll explain more about that in a second. And I've got some liver. Now, I don't eat liver all that often, but coming off a fast, man, that is like, oh man, that is so good. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm putting a lot of salt on these. I did drink some salted water throughout the past couple days. First 36 hours of my fast was dry, and then I started to rehydrate with some salted water. So my salt, these are the 4 salts I use. And I put them together in a mix and use this sometimes. It's Redmond's, it's Baja Gold, Jacobson, and then a Celtic. I predominantly use, so good. I predominantly use Redmond's. It's what I make my sole with, what I salt most of our food with. But I have this mixture, and coming off a fast, it's so good. It's so good and salty. So the leg of lamb was a semi-boneless leg of lamb. And this is one of those things about our language that I dislike. To me, I'm like, either it has a bone or it doesn't. And if it has a bone, then it's not boneless at all. But I understand it. It's the leg of lamb. They take half the bone out. It's a big, huge thing. And what I do is I separate all the fat as much as possible. And if we're looking at a 7 or an 8 pound leg of lamb, I'm going to get like almost a pound, maybe 3/4 to a pound of fat. So I separate the fat from the meat. And this way I can track. It's easier to track that way. And then what's left is really not much fat. And I track it as lamb leg, no visible fat eaten. That's where the leg of lamb comes in. And you'll see I've got all my tools here. So I've got a kitchen scale that weighs in grams, a bowl for my food. I've got my notes. So what I did was I had 25 grams of fat, 25 grams of suet, 25 grams of lamb, and 25 grams of liver. And what I'll do is, oh, man, that liver is so good. I'll wait 20 to 30 minutes. I will come back. I'll have the same exact thing again. This is 87% fat. It's about as high as I want to go coming off a fast, an extended fast like this, because, again, you can have stomach distress. So I'll come back in about 30 minutes. I'll do this again. And then another 30 minutes later, I'm going to be having a bigger portion, 100 grams of fat, 50 grams of lamb. And then most likely, after that, I will still be hungry. So I have some lamb suet I'm going to break into, and I also have lamb chops. So that's it. I'll check back in a few. Hey everyone, I'm back for round 2. It's the same thing I just showed you. Solid beef fat trim, which is prime rib, lots of salt. Suet fat, also beef. And then I've got leg of lamb. You can see there's like very little fat on that, so I'll track this as no visible fat. And then I've got some liver. 25 grams of each. It's 87% fat. And then I was just looking at my numbers. By the time I'm done, I'll have 2,000 calories and I'll be at 90% fat, which is usually a little bit high coming off a fast, but I think I'll be okay because I'm going slow. I'm taking it easy. I'm being gentle on myself. Oh, that liver is so good, man. Wow. I'm going to finish this up. I'll set a timer. I'm going to take my break from work, go sit in the sun for 20 minutes. So a lot of people ask me why I'm eating my food raw. Well, part of it was from coming off extended fast. And remember, it's not an 18 to 20 hour fast. It's a couple days. When I go more than a day of no eating, if I go 2 days no eating, I find myself really craving raw stuff, especially raw liver, raw meat. And it's the only time that I will crave ground beef. I don't particularly care for ground beef, especially raw. I don't really want to eat raw ground beef. But ground beef at all, I don't crave it unless I've been on an extended fast. And I had a couple of extended fasts where I was just really craving raw. And so I would do this refeed protocol, and the first 2 quick meals like I just showed you guys, where it's only 50 grams of fat, 50 grams of meat, would be raw, and then I would go to cooked. And I would notice that I just didn't enjoy my cooked food as much. So I start to ask myself, question everything. Why am I cooking my food? If it works so well coming off a fast, why wouldn't it just work so well all the time? You know? So that's one of the things I played with. And I've had some fasts where, this is going back a year ago, more than a year, before I went to 90% raw. I do a 4-day fast, really craving the raw, and I eat raw for a couple of days. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I got to be careful. I don't want to get sick. All the things we think about bacteria. I got to cook my food. I start cooking my food again, and I notice my digestion has taken a dump. Not as good as it was when I was raw. That's interesting. This is how I do things. Let me try it again. Sure enough, I do it again. A couple of days of raw. And this is how I do things. I like to test. A couple of days of raw, and then start cooking my food again. My digestion it was perfect raw, not as good when I was cooking. So that's when I did 2 weeks raw. I said, okay, I'm going to go 2 weeks fully raw. And then I had a cooked burger. I had a cooked steak. I noticed some burping, a little bit of gas. Just didn't really feel my best. I'm like, all right, that's enough for me. I'm just going to start eating almost all my food raw. And that's how it started. All right, it's been 30 minutes. And for part of that, I was feeling like I wasn't hungry. I was good. I didn't need to eat anymore, but I'm craving salt. So I tried eating some salt, but it wasn't really all that good. Plain. So I'm just going through the rest of my food. The liver's gone. The lamb is gone. The fat is gone. I added 78 grams of suet just because that was what was left in the bowl. So I'm just going to finish off the bowl. So I end up having 2,600 calories at like 93% fat, which is usually pretty high for coming off a fast. I think I'll be all right. At this point, I'm not even really hungry. I'm probably just going to eat these couple pieces of fat over the next 10 minutes or so. And then it's early. It's only 11 a.m. So there's a good chance that in an hour or two, when I digest, or in 4 hours when I'm fully digested, that I'm going to be hungry again. In which case, I'll just have a small lamb chop or something. We'll see. I'll figure it out. But that pretty much concludes the extended fasting refeed protocol. That's it. Slow and gentle, a little bit. Let your digestive juices start going. Wait 20 minutes, a little bit. Make sure everything's all good. You feel fine. I haven't felt a single thing. Just went from very hungry to not hungry anymore. That's it. All right, I'm back for an update. It hasn't been that long. It's only been 30 minutes, and I went from feeling like I was not going to be hungry to I'm hungry and I want to eat some more. So I went and got my lamb chops out. I had them in the back of the freezer. And so they're partially frozen. And I just don't want to eat cold meat right now. But I want to eat it soon. I don't want to wait for it to fully defrost and warm up to room temperature. It takes like an hour. That's what I did with my other food that you saw before. That had warmed up to room temperature for an hour, so it wasn't cold anymore. So what I do on a lamb chop, or a lot of my fatty cuts, is there's more than one way to track it in Chronometer. If you look up lamb chops or leg of lamb, it's going to say with visible fat, without visible fat. So what I do is I cut off the strip of fat on the lamb chop, the big piece of fat in the middle. So all that's left is the lamb chop and the bone. So it's 30 grams of fat and then 180 grams of meat. So that will track more accurately than just tracking 210 grams of a lamb chop. It's not going to show all that fat. Now, if I get a whole package of lamb chops, some are going to have more fat than others. And I want it to be tracked as accurately as possible. So that's what I did. Now it's cold, like I said. So I have a pan on right now. I'm going to cook this bad boy. I'm not going to really cook it, but I'm going to sear it enough to warm it up and just make it more enjoyable and salt the heck out of it. And we're back. You can hear my steak sizzling. I did it just enough. It's like barely cooked. Hard to even call this cooked. I'm going to show it to you guys. Right? It just warmed up on the outside. And look at me all civilized and stuff, eating with a fork and a knife. Eating cooked food. See, I'm not always raw. My food today was probably 95% raw. Still a tiny bit cold, but I don't care. It's good. And I'll tell you, man, something about lamb, very, very satiating. I could already feel it, that this is what my body was craving. I've got the fat in the pan too. Scoop those out so they don't cook anymore. Just one of them warmed up. Oh yeah. Salty and lammy and fatty. That's good stuff.